Okay, so I'm here with Eoghan Gorrell, who's a 4-0 amateur fighter out of Yoda Martial Arts, which is headed by Ryan Roddy. He's had four fights in just about a year now, I want to say. So it's less than a year you had the four fights, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's been very
yeah.
active. So
Four
we're going to
fights
talk.
inside of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to him about the start of his amateur career, how he got into MMA. But thank you very much for joining me. How are you? How's things?
Thanks for having me. Yep, all good, all good. Definitely in the thick of training now for this next fight, and yeah, things are good.
Yeah, so like you're 4-0 now, and you've three finishes, I believe, in that 4 fight span as well. How does it feel to have 75% finish rate in your first four fights?
Really, really good. Obviously, have had a bit of experience with the National League and then novice MMA, kind of ups and downs. Obviously, that's your time really for learning. Amateur is as well, but I feel like I've definitely I'm happy with my performances so far at amateur, and I feel like each fight I'm showing more and more myself. Obviously, with the three finishes too, 4 wins and three finishes, like you can't really beat that. But that's definitely I want to keep the wins, keep racking them up, and keep racking up the finishes too.
Yeah, that last fight you had actually with Caesar, I didn't see it now live. I've watched bits here and there, but from what I believe, everyone is saying that's one of the fights of the year. How did it feel coming out of that fight, and especially with the finish in the third round?
Felt good coming out of the fight. I feel like you watch my fights, all amateur fights at least, and I've definitely been proven to kind of make people pay for mistakes. I think it's just in our preparation and how we train. Obviously it came a bit later. You know, if I can finish it in the first round, if I can finish it in the first 10 seconds, that would be ideal. Definitely got a bit of stick from the likes of Adrian and stuff after he had finished Caesar in the first round, but uh, obviously you can't beat getting a finish. So it was definitely was very very happy with that.
Yeah, it is, and like that, you're looking for plenty more. But you're in Yoda. Yoda's a fantastic club. I think it's a club that doesn't get as much credit. Not as maybe it's not so much credit, but it doesn't get highlighted as much as maybe it should have. I think you've got fantastic coaches up there. You've got fantastic fighters. Conlett is someone who I'm quite fond of as well. Obviously, Adrian Barrow. You've got Pierce there, who I talk to quite a bit as well. Talk to us about that club and how what it's like for you right now and the guys that mean because you've got a good little. There's a good team coming through into the amateur scene. Talk to us about the club.
I feel like really it's the place to be. Like yeah, there's no other gym that I'd rather be at right now. Like you said, we've a great stable of fighters now. Small enough team still. You know, like you said, we've Conleth, Adrian, these are all active amateur fighters. We've Shade Only now coming through, Brogy, like so there's really five or six of us actively fighting in amateur now. But like you said, like I feel like it shows in the success that we've had recently. You know, like it really is. Like this is the beginning of what I believe and what all the other lads do believe is like the Yoda takeover. Really, like we are coming for everyone, and it's class. Like it's we're all obviously around the same weight too, bantamweight and featherweight, all pushing each other on. And I honestly like there's no other place that I'd rather be than at Yoda with Ryan.
Talk to us about Ryan and what he's like as a coach and a mentor. Because I find him when I see him at shows, he wouldn't really know me, but I find him quite not quiet, but he doesn't say much. But he does what he needs to do with you to get you to the. And when he competes himself, he doesn't talk much, but he goes and does what he has to. Talks about Ryan and your relationship with Ryan and what he's doing at the minute for the club.
100%. Like Ryan's the man. You know, like he's the only MMA coach I've ever had. Um, just he's so knowledgeable. You see him working with the likes of Paul Hughes and stuff, and there's a reason that the best in the world are looking to work with him. You know, like I see it, we get to be around it every single day, day in and day out, and the training he puts on for us, but even just the attitude that he brings to the gym and the just the values that he instills in us, like is again, if it was a different gym and Ryan was a coach, I'd be with Ryan. You know, like Ryan is he's gonna be the biggest asset in my career. Obviously, like I'm same as the rest of the lads from the gym. Like he's honestly, in my opinion, the best coach in the country. You know, from being around other coaches and seeing other coaches, and I honestly think that he's the best. He's the best to do it.
Yeah, and you can see with the temperaments and the fighting style of the lads. And I love when I see Shay's another one I actually forgot to mention. He's another one I love watching fighting. When there's a Yoda lad on, I know it can go. So I obviously jiu-jitsu would be the like you can all strike, but when it goes to the ground with a Yoda guy, this one I'm like, oh, this is about to pick up here. Is I think the ground game that you have is sensational. It's really really good and it's really exciting. Like most fights want to stay on the feet, but when it's a Yoda guy, I'm like, get this fight down because the
Yeah.
transitions, the reversals, everything is quite fun. But talk to us about your start. What made you get into MMA?
I was always like kind of in and out of combat sports. I didn't really even find out about MMA until I was maybe about 12 or 13. But from an even younger age than that, I was always in and out of, like the local karate clubs or taekwondo clubs, but nothing ever really sticked. Um, I don't really know what it was about them. It was maybe just like, not that I found them boring, but just hard to, maybe just didn't find them interesting enough or whatever it was. But then I started jiu-jitsu then whenever I was about 13 or 14 with Ryan. It was from like a post on Facebook or something. My mom had mentioned it to me and went down. And like the very first night, he showed us a bit of side control or whatever it was. And then we were rolling. And you know yourself, like you're rolling, it's 100%, it's full on. Like it's exciting. And I think after that first session, getting to roll like that, from that, I was just hooked. I've always definitely been a very, very competitive person. I've definitely got a competitive drive. And I think just it was just that's definitely where the love started. Like honestly, from the first session, I was like, this is what I want to do. And then I was in the kids jiu-jitsu classes then. Maybe whenever I was about 15 or 16, then Ryan had mentioned like, how do you feel about coming up to the MMA classes, which there wasn't really a kids MMA class at that time. So it was all adults that I was going up and kind of training with them. But I was like, fucking absolutely. From watching the likes of UFC or whatever and highlights and stuff on YouTube, I was like that looks like the best crack. And again, like I said, like I've always been a competitor and I've always had like a very competitive personality. And to me, it's like I remember watching even from a young age and just thinking like that is the ultimate form of competition. Like it doesn't get any more real than that. So whenever he mentioned to me about trying it out, I was like, obviously. And since then, it's just been absolutely full steam ahead.
Yeah, and you can see like that you've gone through the novice, the way you have to go through the novice, you've gone into amateur. Talk to us about your next fight coming up. You're going to be fighting on Akuma. It is Akuma, yeah. So talk to us about what's like to
Yeah,
fight on Akuma because
yeah,
I think that's such a good show.
yeah. I've only actually fought Nakuma once, and it was a novice fight against Caleb Stewart. Again, I think he's went on now to go 3-0 or 4-0 at amateur. It was a good fight with him. I definitely learned a lot from it. But very well round show. Personally, I think Stephen is a really good guy, and like obviously from being a fighter himself and owns a gym and whatever, like he knows the crack and he's very very good to work with. So very excited to get on Akuma. In terms of the fight, Johnny Duggan is definitely he's going to be a step up in competition from anyone I've fought before, which I feel like has been pretty. It's been the course of the amateur career. Like that's how you want it to be. Like each fight tougher and tougher and bigger and like you look at his record, like he's fought and he's beat some of the best guys in Ireland. Very very unique style. Obviously like he's been competing in martial arts from I must have been about friggin' 5 or 6 years old. The experience that he's going to bring in and stuff like so. But that's honestly what I live for. Like the bigger the fight, the harder the opponent. Like the more that I want to go out there and just absolutely put a show on. Like I feel like I really do rise to the level of whoever it is that I'm fighting, and always do find a way. So I'm very very excited for this one, very excited, and I've felt myself like each camp getting better and better, and the support going into them is just growing and growing. So it's again, it's just keeping that ball rolling now. Go out, get another win, another stoppage, and then go from there.
Yeah, it is a good fight. And speaking of your opponent, he's someone I'm quite close with as well, and I've had a lot of conversations. And his style is
I've watched a few of the interviews yet.
his style is very unique to MMA. Not many people have that, so that's obviously going to be a benefit. Is facing that style in amateur because most people will go through their pro career and not fight someone with his stance or his kicking. Like you've got obviously like Wonder Boy and stuff in the UFC. So you might, if
Yeah,
that comes up in the future, at least you've been able to see what it's like amateur and be able to what way to combat, what did I do right in that fight, what did I do wrong, and go on. And like you said, you want to always have a better person. And Johnny is a very good fight. I really, really like it. But After this fight, and we're not looking past Johnny, obviously, do you have any more plans for the rest of the year, or are you just taking it one fight at a time? Have you anything else booked?
Obviously, yeah, like you said, like I'm not really thinking ahead of this fight. I'm nearly sure I have a fight booked on Cage Conflict, which is another exciting one. And then after that, I would like another fight before the end of the year. So that would be, I think, one, two, three, four, five fights this year, which again would be perfect. And you know, really, in my eyes, it's like two or three more fights, two or three more wins, two or three more stoppages, and it's like I'd like Dan to be fighting for titles, really, like really making that push to be fighting for the best, like for that spot to be the best in the country. You know, like fighting for belts and winning belts. Like that's kind of what my eyes are on now after these next two or three fights. Obviously, it's still keeping the head down for these fights, but I feel like that's definitely close. I'm getting close to that stage, I think, now.
Yeah, I definitely do. And like that, if you were to finish someone like Johnny and then someone else, though, I think those title fights are there for you. And how do you feel with the amount of shows that we have at the minute currently? You've so many options as an amateur fighter.
It's deadly, especially like for me being up in the north, like everything's like local enough. Like for example, this next Akuma show, it's Antrim somewhere. I think that's about it couldn't be any more than half an hour down the road. Even that last one up in Oma was about friggin' 45 minutes away. Like it's everything's so close too, which is absolutely great.
Yeah, there's so many options right now for fighters, and it's brilliant. So you just see the level of Irish MMA; it's just getting better and better and better, and the level for such a small island, I think what we're producing is unbelievable. But look, it's been fantastic to talk to you. I'm gonna let you go. Is there anything else you want to say before you go, or anyone you want to shout out? And thank you again for your time.
Um, Thanks for having me on. I'd like to say just thank you to a few of my sponsors here. So I'd like to thank firstly Mark Shields from Superhero Fit. He's been on board now with me, helping me out with strength and conditioning for it must be about 6 months now, and really like he's honestly leveled up my game so much. So really, really appreciate him. I want to say thanks to Michael too, my barber. He's been a big supporter of mine now for the past probably about a year. Recently came on as a sponsor there too, so huge thanks to him. And then Gurmel Moore, Fostel and Cree. They've come on as a sponsor there. One of my favorite cafes. If you're ever looking breakfast or lunch or anything and you're local to Marfeld, it's honestly that's the place to go. Breakfast avocado, class, deadly. And then thanks as well to Glor Macrofield. They've been big supporters of mine too. Again, few months. So that's really it. Just thanks to all those guys for coming on. It's the first fight too I've been going into with sponsors, so I'm looking forward to representing.
Yeah, it's essential now to have sponsors because fight camps cost so much at amateur. You don't get any money for the fight. You see, and it's fantastic to see a lot of sponsors, like a lot. There's a lot of fighters in this country, and they all have sponsors. So it's really good to see people with business getting behind the amateur fighters. But it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully, I'll have you on again. Best of luck with your fight, and I will see you soon. Thank you.